Today, we're going to look at what you learned from your data project. You spent a lot of time coming up with a great question. You spent time collecting the data, and you also spent time representing your data on a line plot. Today, there are 5 questions in your math workbook on pages 74 and 75 that are there to encourage you to really look at the data that you collected. The questions are questions that are similar to those you've seen throughout this unit, but since you have your own data, it might seem a little different to you. We're doing this because there are people called statisticians who make representations of their data. So it's actually their job to collect data. They're called statisticians, and then they analyze that data. They pay attention to what they notice in their representations, what stands out as they look at their graph or line plot. A good thing for you to do first is to stand back and think about what stands out to you. Maybe there was something surprising when you collected your data. Maybe the data you collected wasn't what you predicted it to be. Are the data all clumped together or they're very spread out? Do the data from the two groups look very similar or are they different? Once you've figured out what the data is telling you, then you'll figure out what you think is most important to report about your data. When statisticians make arguments based on the data, they justify their conclusions by showing what in the data made them come to that conclusion. Earlier on in this unit, we talked about how it would be possible that if there were kids at Todd Academy that were getting injured repeatedly on a certain playground piece of equipment, that there could be a survey that's taken where someone's collecting the data about who exactly is getting hurt on that piece of equipment. And in that made-up scenario, discussed, or I told you, about how our principal found out that it was the younger grade students mostly that were getting hurt on a certain piece of equipment. So then what was able to happen from that is they could just say the lower grades were not able to play on that equipment since most of the injuries come from those younger kids. That is what a statistician does. They study the data, they collect the data, and then they usually make some kind of decision or argument for a company or for someone who works for the government to make decisions based off the data. So the questions you will find in your workbook, we're asking that you answer them either in the workbook or you can add a slide to this and answer your questions there. Really think about this as we wrap up your data project. You've got this, guys.